This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is the iPhone 13, not Pro model. We've already reviewed the Pro model, so this is otherwise known as the more affordable, lighter weight, and available in prettier, more zingy colors line from Apple for the iPhones. So as ever, just with last year too, we have a mini version of this with a 5.4-inch display if you want, or this 6.1-inch display size, which is the same size as the iPhone 13 Pro. But they are physically a little different this year. Last year, the cases actually were interchangeable, but the lens cluster got larger on the Pro models. So as you can see, the Pro case doesn't make much sense on the non-Pro model. So get the right case for it. Small little PSA there. Anyway, this has been an S year for Apple, which means not big changes in design or big upgrades, but there is still some to keep track of here and to help you decide. For those who have an older iPhone, and maybe you're thinking, I think I'm going to get the iPhone 13, but maybe I can get a 12 cheaper. Which should I get? We're going to find out now. So the iPhone 13 starts at $699. For carrier versions, add $29 if you want it unlocked, which they did last year too. And for the mini, it's $100 less, starts at $699. If you want to go from the base 128 gigs, yay, not 64 gigs anymore, to 256, that's $100 more. But if you want to make that final leap to the maximum storage, which is 512 gigs compared to 1 terabyte on the Pro models, then there's another $200 leap in addition. And that's going to cost you a whopping $1,099, which is a lot of money for the not Pro level iPhone. So probably if you want a lot more storage, you're starting to think maybe about the Pro and get other benefits as well, which we'll talk about. So for changes this year, we have the same resolution display. It is OLED. Once again, the notch is 20% smaller. That is in the side to side, not the up and down way. 20%, not a big difference there, right? But this year we get a brighter display. It was 625 nits, now it's 800 nits. Now the Pro models there, you get 1,000 nits of brightness and 1,200 nits max for HDR, so you can decide if the extra $200 to jump to the Pro model is worth it to you. We don't have 120 hertz ProMotion here. That's only for the Pro line of phones. So we're still at the same refresh rate of 60 hertz. I don't know if that's a deal breaker for you, but again, when you start to look at the Pro and the standard 13 and the $200, you're like, I'm getting a lot this year. Whereas last year, the jump wasn't so big between the two, which confused a lot of folks. Should I get a 13 or a 12 or a 12 Pro rather? And this year, it's kind of clear if you're pining for those extra things, it might be worth the $200. We have the same Apple A15 Bionic CPU that we have inside the Pro ones, but a 6-core CPU. But we have a GPU that has only 4 cores versus 5 cores in the Pro models. And the CPU performance increase year over year wasn't that big this year, like 10, 15%, not huge. But the GPU performance saw a leap because of that additional core. So you're not going to get that here with the non-Pro model. Non-Pro, it's starting to sound a little sad. Oh, by the way, the iPhone 13 Pro in white is a dummy phone. Our real one, well, it went down a flight of wooden stairs, naked, no case, and doesn't look too good anymore. The phone has 4 gigs of RAM, which for an iOS device isn't that bad, and we are running iOS 15 out of the box here. The Pro models have 6 gigs, so yet another little difference there. So in favor of the little old 13, it is a lighter phone available in more playful colors. Why is it lighter? Mostly because it has an aluminum frame instead of the heavier stainless steel frame. It's a noticeable difference. And obviously for those of you who really like small phones, there's that mini with a 5.4-inch display. Like, you can't get a high quality phone that small anymore. So there's certainly still a pull. Now I hear Apple didn't sell a huge number of minis last year, so I don't know how many of you end up with them, but for those of you, and you know who you are, who really want that size phone, obviously that's a selling point. The cameras did get better. We still have 2 cameras, not 3. There's no telephoto lens. We have the main and we have the ultra wide. The apertures got a little bit wider, not as wide as the Pro models, which is, I suppose, fair. No LiDAR on board, no new macro mode, but it does have that cinematic mode, which can shoot 1080p video with basically portrait mode for video. So it can change the depth of field and create a bokeh effect behind your subject, and it can track subject to subject. It's called focus racking. So that's pretty neat that you still get that on board here. There's no ProRes support on this. You'll have to go with the Pro models for that. I don't know how many people care about that, but for those of you who are the next budding professional videographers and you want ProRes, which is a super high quality, less lossy codec, and you really want to use a phone to do it, then obviously the Pro models will be the ones to choose there. The night mode is improved as a result of the wider aperture. Even if it doesn't quite keep up with the Pro models as phones go and high-end camera phones, it does a really very good job. And as always, the iPhone is class leading when it comes to video quality. You could argue the S21 Ultra has great photo quality and do a comparison and see who wins, and might be hard to say between an iPhone and an S21 Ultra or any other really nice upper-end Android phone, but when it comes to video, still a winner here. And of course, you have your 4K video at 60 frames per second here also. And the usual slow motion, panorama, and all that stuff. And the new photographic scenes that you can pick at any time, which is more like Lightroom presets. It's not just some kind of casual filter. It changes the whole look and feel a bit and subtly, and not over the top, not like silly Instagram filters where everything suddenly looks sepia and excessively nostalgic. So good job from Apple there with that stuff. Other standards, obviously we have Face ID on board. The notch is still here because of all the hardware involved in that 3D facial recognition that's more secure than 2D facial recognition available on competing phones. We have Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5, NFC, still no Touch ID. And I know some people are unhappy about that, but I don't see Apple redesigning their phones physically to accommodate COVID. And I guess we're all hoping that that doesn't go on much longer. Who knows? But anyway, there's no Touch ID here still. You do have Unlock with Apple Watch as an option for those of you who actually really like the Apple Watch. I'm a fan sometimes of the watch more than even the phones themselves. Really well done product there. So the phone's like 25 grams lighter for the iPhone 13 versus 13 Pro, but that's still a little bit heavier than it was last year because just like the Pro models, Apple decided to put bigger batteries inside. So I'll take that, give me a couple of grams extra and more battery life. So with the 13, 2.5 hours of additional runtime compared to the iPhone 12. The Mini, which really did need some help, small phone, not much room for battery, gets a 1.5-hour runtime increase or screen on time. So in my test, that's proved to be true, which I think most people will really value quite a lot. Core feature, not exciting, not sexy, but we all appreciate that. If you're thinking, so iPhone 12 or iPhone 13, if you have an iPhone 12, you're probably, unless you're really desperate for longer battery life, you're probably not going to upgrade. We have incremental camera improvements. We have more base storage on board. A bit brighter display. Those aren't big selling points. But if you're somebody who has an iPhone 8 or 7 and you're looking to do an upgrade again, it's probably enough of a difference that given a few $100 difference in price, I would go with the 13 over the 12. Now, if you're thinking about this versus the Pro, I think you can tell that I think the $200 extra spend is worth it for the 120 Hertz ProMotion, getting a telephoto camera, getting wider aperture lenses with even better night modes, and various other improvements that are on board too. So there you have it. It's an interesting phone. It doesn't do this, does it? But it's a nice enough high quality phone that isn't $1,000. And for the Mini, like I said, you're not going to find a high quality phone in that size range anymore. So that's the iPhone 13, and now you get to see how it stands versus the iPhone 12 and the Pro 13 line as well. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos. Thumbs up if you like this vid.